Welcome back, kindergartners. This is a bittersweet moment. Bittersweet means a little bit happy and a little bit sad. And it's bittersweet because we are reading the last two chapters in this video, chapter 23 and 24. Chapter 24 is very short and it kind of goes along with chapter 23. So we are going to read them right now. Remember in the last chapter, Dorothy and our three main characters, her three friends, just reached Glinda's castle. And we know from the name of this chapter that it's the Good Witch grants Dorothy's wish. So we know that her wish to go home to Kansas is going to be granted. Let's start. Before they went to see Glinda, however, they were taken to a room of the castle, where Dorothy washed her face and combed her hair, and the lion shook the dust out of his mane, and the scarecrow patted himself into his best shape, and the woodman polished his tin and oiled his joints. When they were all quite presentable, they followed the soldier girl into the big room, where the witch Glinda sat upon her throne of rubies. She was both beautiful and young to their eyes. Her hair was a rich red in color and fell in flowing ringlets over her shoulders. Her dress was pure white, but her eyes were blue, and they looked kindly upon the little girl. "What can I do for you, my child?" she asked. Dorothy told the Good Witch all her story, how the cyclone had brought her to the land of Oz, how she had found her companions, and of all the wonderful adventures she had met with. "But my greatest wish now," she added, "is to get back to Kansas, for Aunt Em will surely think something dreadful has happened to me, and that will make her go into mourning, and unless the crops are better this year than they were last year, oh, I'm sure Uncle Henry cannot afford it." Glinda leaned forward and kissed the sweet, upturned face of the loving little girl. "Oh, bless your heart, dear," she said. "I'm sure I can tell you of a way to get back to Kansas." Then she added, "But if I do, you must give me the golden cap." "Oh, willingly," exclaimed Dorothy. "Indeed, it's of no use to me now, for when you have it, you can command the winged monkeys 3 times. "Well, I think I shall need their service 3 times, answered Glinda, smiling. Dorothy then gave her the golden cap, and the witch said to the scarecrow, "Now, what will you do when Dorothy has left us to go back to Kansas?" "Well, I'll return to the Emerald City," he replied. "Oz has made me its ruler, and the people like me. The only thing that worries me is how to cross over those hammerheads." "Well, by means of the golden cap, I will command the winged monkeys to carry you back to the gates of the Emerald City." So that's her first wish for the monkeys. "It would be a shame to deprive all the people of Oz such a wonderful ruler." "Am I really wonderful?" asked the scarecrow. "Well, you are unusual," replied Glinda. Turning to the Tin Woodman, she asked, "And what will become of you when Dorothy leaves the country?" He leaned on his axe and thought a moment. Then he said, "Well, the Winkies were very kind to me and wanted me to rule over them after the Wicked Witch died. I'm very fond of the Winkies, and, well, if I could get back again to the country of the West, I should like to rule over them forever." "Well, then my second command to the winged monkeys," said Glinda, "will be that they carry you safely to the land of the Winkies. Your brain may not be so large to look at as those of the scarecrow, but you are really brighter than he is when you are well polished, and I'm sure you will rule the Winkies wisely and well." Then the witch looked at the big shaggy lion and asked, "And now when Dorothy has returned to her new home, what will become of you?" "Well, over the hill of the Hammerheads," he answered, "lies a grand old forest, and all the beasts that live there have made me their king. If I could get back to that forest, I would be very happy there." "Well, my third command to the winged monkeys," said Glinda, "shall be to carry you to your forest. Then, having used up all the powers of the golden cap, I shall give it back to the king of the monkeys, so that he and his band may be free forevermore. So this is inside Glinda's castle. So she wants that golden cap, not for herself. She needs to send our characters back to where they're all going. So, of course, we know that the Scarecrow is going back to be the ruler of Oz. The Tin Woodman is going to rule over the Wicked Witch of the West's old castle in the country of the Winkies. And then the lion is headed back to a forest, which I believe might be this forest right here on our map. So they'll all have somewhere to be leaders after this, which is great. The Scarecrow and the Tin Woodman and the lion now thanked the Good Witch earnestly for her kindness. And Dorothy now exclaimed, "Well, you are certainly as good as you are beautiful, but you still have not told me how to get back to Kansas." "Well, darling, your silver shoes will carry you over the desert," replied Glinda. "If you had known their power, you could have gone back to your Aunt Em the very first day you came into this country." "Oh, but then I would not have had my wonderful brains," said the Scarecrow, "and I might have been in the farmer's cornfield my entire life." "And I should not have had my lovely heart," said the Tin Woodman. "I might have stood rusted in the forest till the end of the world." "Oh, and I shall have been a coward forever," declared the lion, "and no beast in all the forest would have a good word to say to me." "Oh, well, this is all true," said Dorothy. "I'm glad I was of use to these friends. But now that each one of them has what he most desires, and each is happy to have a kingdom to rule besides, I think I should like to go back to Kansas." "Well, the silver shoes," said the Good Witch, "have wonderful powers, and one of the most curious things about them is they can carry you any place in the world in just 1, 2, 3 steps, and each step will be made in the wink of an eye. All you have to do is knock the heels together 3 times and command the shoes to carry you wherever you wish to go." "Oh, if that's so," said the child joyfully, "I will ask them to carry me back to Kansas at once." She threw her arms around the lion's neck and kissed him, patting his big head. Then she kissed the Tin Woodman, who was weeping in a way most dangerous to his joints. And she hugged the soft, stuffed body of the Scarecrow in her arms, and instead of kissing his painted face, she found that she was crying herself at the sorrowful parting from her loving friends. Glinda the Good stepped down from her ruby throne to give the little girl a goodbye kiss, and Dorothy thanked her for all the kindness she had shown her friends and herself. Dorothy now took Toto up solemnly in her arms, and having said one last goodbye, she clapped the heels of her shoes together 3 times, saying, "Take me home to Aunt Em." Instantly, Dorothy was whirling through the air so swiftly that all she could see or feel was the wind whistling past her ears. The silver shoes took but 1, 2, 3 steps, and she stopped so suddenly that she rolled over upon the grass several times before she knew where she was. At length, however, she sat up and looked about her. "Good gracious!" she cried, for she was sitting on the broad Kansas prairie, and just before her was the new farmhouse that Uncle Henry had built after the cyclone had carried away the old one. Uncle Henry was milking the cows in the barnyard, and Toto had jumped out of her arms and was running towards the barn, barking joyously. Dorothy stood up and found she was in her stockings. It's like socks or tights, for the silver shoes had fallen off in her flight through the air and were lost forever in the desert. Aunt Em had just come out of the house to water the cabbages when she looked up and saw Dorothy running to her. "Oh, my darling child," she cried, folding the little girl in her arms and covering her face with kisses. "Where in the world have you come from?" From the land of Oz, said Dorothy gravely. And here's Toto, too, and oh, Aunt Em, I'm so glad to be home again. That end. The end. So Dorothy is home again. And in our picture book, let's see what it looks like when she returns home again. Here she is. And you'll notice, there she is in her stocking feet. And here is Aunt Em giving her a cuddle. And you'll notice that Dorothy doesn't find Kansas to be so gray anymore. Did you notice that? At the beginning of our story, look. Kansas was this gray, boring place. And Dorothy was wishing for an adventure of some sorts. And here she got the adventure. And in the story, she actually traveled to an imaginary place called Oz, somewhere in the world. In the movie, we know that that's not quite true. In the movie, she has a bad dream. So it's a little bit different. Either way, she's happy to be back again. And in the movie, the last line that Dorothy says is, "There's no place like home." So that is why it's always so important to remember that no matter what, there is no place like home. And I hope you enjoy The Wizard of Oz with me, because the characters and the places, they're all just so amazing. And it's not every day where you find a book that has such amazing characters in it and that has a wonderful movie that goes along with it. Even though you now know the movie's different, it's still a classic and can be watched over and over again for years and years and years. And so I hope from now on you will always think of me when you hear about The Wizard of Oz. And someday maybe you will get to travel to Washington, D.C., where they actually have in a museum Dorothy's ruby red slippers from the movie. So we'll have to see. But until then, my little munchkins, there's no place like home. Bye.